In this video, I am going to show you how to implement the URL Launcher package. This is one of the most popular and widely used packages in Flutter. It allows you to easily launch a URL or phone call, send an SMS, or an email. So in this quick tutorial, we will demo all the different URL schemes supported by this plugin. We will also highlight some mistakes to avoid while implementing them. So, without any further ado, let's start with the installation and configurations. For the installation, we just need to execute this command in the terminal, and that's it. Now, it's important to add the following configurations in order to support the latest version of Android and iOS. For that, we will open the Android manifest.xml and paste this code as a child of the root element here. Those intents allow us to support the different schemes that you will use in the app later. While we are here, we will also add this line for internet permission and this one here inside application to avoid this error when accessing HTTP websites. The same way for iOS, we will go to the info.plist file and add those lines at the bottom. Now, let's start by opening our web URL. For that, we'll come here, call the launch method, and pass in a URL string. By default, it will open this URL in the default browser on Android, but not on iOS. To open the URL in the browser on iOS, you will need to set the force Safari VC to false. If for any reason it cannot open the URL, it will generate a platform exception. Therefore, to be safe and avoid that, it is recommended to use the canLaunch method to check whether the URL scheme is supported. So, if this returns true, then you can call the launch method. Otherwise, maybe you can send a message to the user in a dialog to say that this action is not supported. When we press this button, it should open that URL in the default browser. As you can see, it opens it in the Safari browser. Now, if instead of a browser you prefer to open the URL in a web view directly inside the app, you just need to set force Safari VC to true and force web view to true for Android. It is also recommended to set enable JavaScript and enable storage to true to enable JavaScript and local storage in the Android web view. And if your app supports the web, you can also set the web-only window name parameter to _self to open the URL in the current tab. For more information on those options, you can check this section of the documentation. The link will be in the description below. Now, if instead of a web URL you have a phone number and want to open the phone app, you can just call the launch method and pass the scheme, which is tail, then the phone number like this. But since a phone number can include other characters like spaces that can cause the launch method to fail, it is recommended to use a URI to ensure that the phone number is properly URL encoded. So instead of this, we should first create a phone URI. For scheme, tail, and for path, the phone number, and then we will call the launch method and pass in the phone URI.toString. So when we click on this button, it should launch the phone app. As mentioned earlier, if the device doesn't have the phone app, the launch method will generate a platform exception. So this is why we use the canLaunch method again here. If instead of opening the phone app you want to send an SMS, you just need to replace tail by SMS here. Now to send an email using this plugin, we will again prepare an email URI. For the scheme, mail to, the path, the recipient's email address. For the subject and the body of the message, we will set the query parameter. As recommended by the plugin documentation, we will copy this encode query parameters function and paste it here. Then, we will use it in the query to set the subject and the body of the email like this. And as always, we'll call the launch method and pass in the newly created URI to string. Now by pressing this button, it will launch the default email app pre-filled with the information we supplied. That was all for this one. Check this video to continue learning about Flutter or this playlist to learn how to publish your Flutter apps on the app stores.